My special guest today is Guido Petrelli. He is the founder and chief executive officer of Merlin Investor, a multi-asset educational strategizing and tracking tool for personal investment strategies for any kind of retail investor. After opening his first investment account at 16, Guido identified the need for an easy-to-use tool that serves as an intelligent guide in structuring a diversified portfolio with the goal to balance investment risks and build long-term stable results. Welcome to the show, Guido.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for having me, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. Can you tell everybody a little bit about your background before you founded Merlin and what brought you to the investing world?
Sure. Yes. Well, basically, before I founded Merlin Investor for about 14 years, I've been an executive in a multinational automotive company. Formerly, I was the chief financial officer and chief operating officer. And what I did was to scale the company worldwide and then running the show at 360 degrees. Before that, I used to work for a consultancy company located in Singapore. And with that experience, I was supporting European companies to expand internationally, especially in the Asia Pacific region. And from an academic background, I went to the university and I got a major in business administration and finance.
Right, so lots of great experiences there. If you're following along at home, Merlin Investor is merlininvestor.com. Can you just tell us a little bit about why you felt the need to found a platform like Merlin?
The very short answer would be because I was tired to paying people, the so-called expert, to lose my money. But let me articulate on that. Basically, as you also said in your opening, I opened my first brokerage account when I was just 16. And especially at that time, it was not so common. Trading platforms were not around like they are today. But from the very beginning, I understood that the execution part is nothing special. It's just the mean how you execute a trade. But what's supposed to be the key part of an investment process, it's what comes before, meaning creating a diversified and balanced investment strategy. So I did that basically through Excel by building my own spreadsheet.
Mm.
And I did that for several years. At the same time, I also started to rely for part of my investments on financial advisors. Then I got to a point where basically I realized, as I was saying before, that were more the times I was paying somebody to lose my money instead that when I was losing less or making some profit by myself. So I decided that I had to stop. In order to be more and more, let's say, professional instructor in investing, and in order to do that with investment strategy in mind, I had to find something better than my spreadsheets because they were unfriendly, time consuming. Every time I had to update manually all the information and so on.
Mm.
So I went into the market looking for something that could replace my spreadsheets. And I was actually surprised I couldn't find anything even close to what I have in mind. And it was surprising because today we have an app or a platform for basically everything we do during the day, right? And
Right.
so I said, you know what? Probably I'm not the only one having this problem, and I'm going to translate my vision, my idea into a product, and I created Merlin Investor.
The best platforms come from that personal need where you're like, I need this. Oh, other people need it. I'm going to build it for all of us. For people who aren't familiar with Merlin, can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about the app? Like how does it change that investment process before you actually make the trade? Like, what do people do on the platform?
First of all, let's narrow down what's supposed to be the normal cycle of investing. Basically, the steps supposed to be you study the market, you retrieve data, you look at the market sentiment and so on. You do whatever you need to do in terms of research and study in order to basically pick the assets that you want to invest on. After you do that, you're supposed to create investment strategy, maybe different investment strategy, and then you start to analyze them from several risk perspectives. For example, what my asset allocation risk, what's the currency risk, the geographical risk, and so on. Then you compare one strategy with another, and you get to the point where you decide, okay, this is the strategy I want to bring forward. Then you execute that, and then you track the performance, and you continue the infinite process of aligning your strategy based on the market performance. And basically, this is the full investment cycle. And what Merlin allows you to do is everything except the actual execution. Still, Merlin allow you to connect one or more bank account, trading platform, crypto wallet, and so on to our product, so that after you go somewhere else to actually execute the trades, we'll import your updated portfolio, and you can keep going through Merlin Investor with the tracking process.
Yeah. So the idea is that when I'm in Merlin, I'm doing all those other pieces. What's my strategy going to be? What are the market factors that are impacting these strategies? Selecting a strategy, doing research into the securities that would fit in that strategy, and saying, oh, I need to buy this asset, or I need to sell that asset. And that is the whole world. That's everything from start to finish that an investor would need to do is happening inside of Merlin.
Yeah, that's definitely
Well,
correct.
can you tell us a little bit about the benefit that the users get? You know, that presumably, you can go to all these different platforms, like you said, and make trades, maybe gamble or just for fun, but you're not really doing that deep strategic research process at the beginning. Well, for users that are using your platform, how is their life better now than what you were doing 10 years ago or whenever you were working in your spreadsheets?
Let me answer with first with an analogy. And as I said before, I'm coming from the automotive sector, so that's where the analogy is coming from. Let's take the mobility. No, if you think before, until passenger vehicle came to this world, it's like we were going around sitting in the passenger seat, so we were totally passive, right? And then one day, with the trading platform that has been launched into the market and gave access to the execution part of the investment cycle to everybody, it's like we have been given a Ferrari to drive. The problem and the opportunity at the same time that I saw was to teach, especially the young folk, how to drive the car, because otherwise we talk a lot about democratizing the investment process, but if you give a car to somebody to drive without teaching them how to drive it, are you actually democratizing something, or probably you are doing even worse, right?
Yeah.
So going back to your question, this was the idea, because what we see today from the time of the trading platform came to happen is that people are investing with a sort of gambling approach. With gambling approach, I mean they don't have a full and complete understanding of their overall strategy, and so they don't have an overall understanding and control of their investments. And that's where Merlin helps them. It basically goes against the approach of making money overnight, of gambling with with investing, and it's not like something new or rocket science for a professional investor, what I'm saying, right? And that's why our mission is to democratize access to investment strategies, so that everybody, doesn't matter their social status, levels of experience, and so on, can become the one and only master of their own financial future, thanks to a strategic investment planning and by having a strict control of their investment. That's overall the idea and value underneath the Merlin Investor project.
Yeah, the timing of this conversation makes a lot of sense to me. I think there were a lot of people in the last few years during the pandemic who didn't know how to drive their cars, who got in and crashed on Wall Street bets, or were starting to get into all these gambling approaches that worked for a while when every asset on the planet was going up, and then they didn't know how to drive, they didn't know how to do that beginning portion, and so maybe some of those, have you seen some of those users who instead of giving up are like, okay, I have to take a smarter approach? Have you seen some of them coming on to Merlin Investor?
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely got the point here. As far as the market is going up, which I can say, as far as the road is nice, there is nice weather, no bumps, no turns, then
Yeah,
everybody thinks to be the best investor in the world, right? And
right.
so they may think, why I should use Merlin or something like that. I'm going to be successful. I'm actually being successful anyway, right? But then unfortunately that's not what happened in the market. And then people start to be upset because they lose a lot of
Hmm.
money. And especially people that invested those money, not because they won the lottery or inherited those money, but they basically work hard to make those money. So actually, with this, let's say, bear market or this shift from well-performing market to a very difficult and uncertain one like we are experiencing today, has helped Merlin because has helped retail investors to understand that if they want to invest by themselves, they need to do it with a professional approach. And also, what we go against is the concept that investment strategy is something that, wow, it's complex. If I'm not an investor, it's how I'm going to do it. So either I continue to rely blindly on somebody else, or I just gamble with investing. It's not the case, and that's what we are trying to prove here. We develop a product in order to make investment strategy accessible and understandable to anyone. And we see that this is starting be to be taken by our community, and are starting to find the value in the product, especially during such an hard time for the financial markets.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. That people when they start crashing, they look, okay, I need some training. Can you talk a little bit about the types of users that you're targeting that you really want to build for? Is it only people who are new to investing, or is there a lot of value there for folks who might be like an intermediate level or an advanced level? What types of people do you think this is for?
Well, from a demographic perspective, we mainly target Gen Z and millennials. And from a geographical perspective, we mainly target the North American market because that's where the big chunk of retail investor today is located. And in terms of investment, let's say expertise in order to use Merlin, what we develop is a product that is meant to be scalable based on each one specific learning curve and expertise. And how we did that was by developing different subscription packages so that we don't force everybody to have access to the same kind of features or tool, because that feature or tool for somebody can be too easy, for somebody can be too hard. So that's how we structure the platform, with the idea that we don't push anybody, but we stay on their side in order to grow together and help them to reach a good level in terms of investment expertise.
I'm on merlininvestor.com and I click the subscription tab. So it's merlininvestor.com/subscription. And I can see those plans laid out, from more basic to more advanced. And I want to talk about the plan names and the name of the site in a minute. But when people move from that entry level plan to that advanced plan, what's the key differences? Like, what does the more advanced user need on the higher end versus the middle and the bottom end?
Let's divide let's say the additional feature in some subset. First is the number of strategies that somebody wants to create, and how many assets they want to put inside each strategy. Then another point is, do they want to connect a wallet, a bank account, or a trading platform, and how many of those they want to connect. And then a third set, very important, is how deep they want to go into their own analysis, either in terms of studying the market and tracking their performance. With this concept, what we did has been to develop approximately 40 widgets that allow to, again, study and analyze at different level of details, different kind of asset, and so on. So all these sets forms the contents of the different packages, so that based on such characteristics, everybody can understand which subscription package may better fit its own investment needs.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like my own investment journey, where when I was just getting started, I didn't have any strategy, let alone multiple strategies. And as I got more advanced, I might consider more strategies. And maybe when you're just getting into investing, you might only buy one stock or two stocks, not dozens and or multiple asset classes. And I think that's intuitive to me as well on the research side, that when you're just getting started, you're not spending a lot of time, you're not going to dive as deep as you will as you become more sophisticated. So I like the idea that you can target your users across the life cycle as they become better. Can you talk a little bit more about the strategies, because that keeps coming up? It sounds really critical. What are these strategies? Do you come up with them and then put them, or your team, and put them into the app so that folks can see them? Like, how many strategies are we talking about, and how might a user differentiate between them?
Well, first of all, we don't create and we don't advise any strategy or any kind of asset. And it goes back to the reason why I created Merlin, because as I said, I wanted to be the one and only master of my own financial future. I was not going to have somebody else created that for me. So that's why we don't suggest, but we empower, we educate and empower. These are the key values underneath the platform.
Yeah, so like when I come onto the platform, if I'm looking at strategies like long, short, or what, like cyclical strategies and things like this, are these the types of options that a user would have as a way to look at the investment universe?
Well, basically, they will be able to create, depending on the subscription package they choose, an infinite set of investment strategies. And then they will be able to put inside as many asset and as many asset class as they prefer. And then they will be able to analyze each strategy top down, compare one strategy to another, even back test those strategies. So to say, okay, let's assume I invested in this 1 year ago, what will be my performance now? And when I do the back test today, actually, it doesn't matter what strategy I use. I will see that if I apply them, I would have lost a lot of money because the market has went down in the meantime, right? But so
Right.
this is all the sort of critical thinking and empowering concept that we translate to our customers. And also, somebody could say, well, I may get confused with an infinite set of investment strategy that in the end I'm like, okay, I create 100 strategy. Which one I decide to use, and most important, if I'm not starting from a white paper, how I'm going to move from my current strategy, my current portfolio to the new one. And in order to help them to achieve this process in a very easily way, we even developed the align function where basically you just set my strategy, my portfolio today is strategy A, and I want to go to strategy 999 that I created. I just click a button and then we give you a list of the execution, the trades that you need to execute in our platform, so that you don't even need to compare one with another to come up, okay, what I need to do at the end of the day, but you already get a list. You just go in your trading platform, you do it, and then you see your updated strategy or portfolio inside the Merlin platform.
I think it's a great change in my own thinking to think that you would take so much of the driver's seat back from other people who have lost your money or not given you clarity into your platform. It's actually a change in my own thinking, and probably the thinking of lots of folks who are used to depending on other institutions to do that thinking for them. Do your users go through that change where they realize that they have to do the critical thinking instead of letting someone else do it for them? Is that kind of a transition that you're helping them or noticing that they make as they use the tools?
Yeah, I think so, but I also think that considering there is already a huge number of investors using trading platform, they already made that decision, that shift to invest autonomously. This is I believe that the trading platform, let's say, already proved that people want to take the driver's seat. This is already something that it's clear today, because when you look at, let's say, North America and US combined, we're already talking about more than 200 million people, especially young generation, using trading platforms. So that shift to independence already started to happen and is proved by the trading platform. What we're trying to do here is to complement their investment experience with what's supposed to be the key, the engine of investing. Because today they just got, let's say, the out shell of the car.
And is that the future then, where if we already have this shift to independent investors and maybe more people coming in, but this is a change that's already happened, is the shift that instead of just gambling, they're going to do an educated process next? And is that really where you see this huge amount of users going, is that they become more sophisticated and more research based in their process?
Yeah, I personally believe so. I got a question in another interview not long ago where basically they were telling me, now that the market is going down, there is the risk that people are going back to rely on somebody else to invest, right? Which is a fair question. In my opinion, there is that possibility, or there is the possibility that I personally believe in, that the shift already took place. We're not going back, because especially the young generation are not going back to a bank or an advisor wearing a suit and a tie and rely on them. They actually feel uncomfortable just in the relationship and in the concept that financial institution had, let's say, develop in the mind of a young generations. So in my opinion, the shift has been done and we are not going back. We are not going back, and is confirmed to be proved by the trend of the trading platform. So the focus is now not on are we going back, but is how we can keep moving forward, but moving forward, again, acting like professional, acting with strategy in mind, instead than to continue gambling, now that we experience with a market downturn, that if we don't act in the right and professional way, we're going to be not successful at all.
I suppose the opposite could be true, that when the market starts falling, people realize that they're paying a fee for failure. And with a lack of transparency, why bother? Why not? If your investment advisor or your robo advisor or your bank or whoever's managing your money isn't succeeding, what's the point of paying for them? And more people might say, you know what, this is an opportunity to take the reins and drive my own car. I could see it going the other way. Your website's called Merlin Investor, merlininvestor.com. I've said it a few times, but I know that you were inspired by the Knights of the Round Table, and I'm looking at your plans again. You've got Camelot, Lancelot, Excalibur, King Arthur. Can you talk a little bit about why the Arthurian legend, inspired you and how that influenced the platform?
Well, again, I go to the concept that we are empowering people as much as Merlin was empowering King Arthur to go in the battlefield, right? So in the end, it was not Merlin going to fight for King Arthur. It was still King Arthur. And again, it was in the end, the only master of his own future, but still he was relying on the power that Merlin was giving to him. So the concept of Merlin was in line with this rationality and with the vision that I had with the product. Then if we look at the subscription package's name, there is of course a meaning also in the choice that we did. We start with Camelot, and Camelot is the free package, so it's in line with the goal to democratize access to investment strategy, even if you have 0 penny to spend, and it's named Camelot because it's meant to be the first step into the investment strategy realm. Then the following package is named Lancelot because after you enter the strategy realm and you become more familiar with investment, you get to the point where you deserve and you take your seat at the round table. Then more you improve and you scale to the following package named Excalibur. Why Excalibur? Because Excalibur is a very powerful but also a very risky weapons to manage. So you get to the point where you actually ready to manage this sort of weapon. Then the last stage, the last subscription package is named King Arthur, which is meant to be the time when you are finally ready to get into the battlefield and lead your troops to success. This was the rationality that we saw when coming out with the name of the packages.
That's the most coherent founding idea and guiding principle for an app I've ever heard. I love the idea that you're not the one in battle. You're the one that's empowering investors to get out there and do battle for themselves and succeed in the market. Guido, it was really fun to hear about your platform. I hope everybody who's listening checks it out. It's merlininvestor.com, and you can take that journey too from Camelot through King Arthur and be a better investor with the tool. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me. It was very nice to talk to you.